That was creepy. Did any of those scenes traumatize you as a kid? Or is there a different movie that scarred your childhood? Please tell me in the comments below. When I was growing up in the 80s, filming techniques were getting better faster and more realistic. Although the genre of horror and scary movies wasn't new, it did get a makeover that made them more believable. Even more chilling that when you're a kid, you don't know the difference between what is real and what is fantasy. I'm sure we all carry a few of those movie scars in our memories. For my Halloween special, I'm going to look back and react to 5 scenes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.
Thanks, Eddie. 5 scenes from old movies that scared me shitless. And see how they hold up today. In the weekend evenings when I was maybe like 10 years old, my parents told me the sequel to The Wizard of Oz will premiere on television. Well, I was pretty excited because I loved the first movie. I have seen it when I was little and I thought it was a beautiful movie. But pretty quick, I noticed that the second part had a really eerie story. Dorothy was kind of in an insane asylum and receiving shock therapy. What the hell? Eventually, she came to Oz and it was a really desolate place. There were weird creatures out there, people on 4 wheels called wheelers.
Come here.
Oh, but the scariest scene was in the palace of the princess. This princess was headless, and that's why she collected other heads of women, so she could wear them whenever she wanted. Well, in this scene, Dorothy has to steal some kind of artifact in the palace, and so she ended up in the corridor full of heads. Let's take a look. Those heads. Yeah, I can understand you. That hall? Also alone? You know something is going to... You just know. Duh! It's here to attack! But all those heads! The corpse with no head! This is the music! Jesus! I saw this when I was little! This is some scary shit. Whoa. That was still scary as shit, man. I mean, the screaming, the music, the heads, the freaking heads. Who the hell came up with this? This is not a kids movie. Can you believe this is rated 6+?
Poison to lungs.
The very first movie I saw in the movie theaters was
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
I think it's an epic choice to get introduced into the movie theaters with none other than a collaboration between Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. So I went to see it with my brother and my parents when I was about 8 years old. After that movie, I remember an elderly man tapped on my shoulder and asked me, "Didn't you think the rats were scary?"
Oh, rats.
And I was like, "No man, the rats, those were not scary." But that piece with the Holy Grail, when the wrong cup of Christ is taken, damn, that was bone chilling. In the scene, our bad guy who is collaborating with the Nazis is after the Holy Grail. With the right cup, he can drink from the fountain of life and get immortal. But in the cave there are hundreds of cups. Using the wrong one will have dire consequences. But he has to choose. Let's take a look at the scene that made me shiver. Well, it's not scary still. This was but this. From this moment on. Well, it's great. It's great looking. It's really awesome. Well, I have to admit, I have seen this scene many times because this movie is freaking awesome. So yeah, I watched it like a bajillion times. So by now, of course, it doesn't scare me anymore. Although I can see why it did back then. It's a very incredible scene if you look at it with a technical eye. It's the use of great makeup, animatronics and stop motion. Blended in with some defined crazy ritual shit in Indiana Jones. And yeah, you get the little me pretty scared. But for now, I think this is just awesome.
You chose poorly.
Yet another movie night back in the days, in the 80s, when I was, again, like 9 or 10 years old, I saw Robocop. That movie is way too violent to look at that age. I could not understand in hindsight why I was looking at that movie at that age, because damn, it was violent.
Robocop, the future of law enforcement.
Okay, it was freaking awesome. It was one of my best movies, Robocop. And it was made by the brilliant Dutch director Paul Verhoeven. What I found scary about this movie were big, intimidating robots. In this case, Ed 209. I think I was a little bit scared of some Transformers, and especially Soundwave. When he talked, man, yeah, I felt like, oh shit, I don't want to, meet him in some alley. Scary voice, but also in this, Ed 209 was freaking big and intimidating. Also the sound, man, when he's getting switched on. The scene I found most scary was the part where they introduced Ed 209 in a meeting for corporate. Although the robot scene is in stop motion, it still terrified me. Not only the robot itself, but also the reaction those people give in that conference room. I think they inspired me to be scared too, yeah. Let's take a look.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You now have 15 seconds to comply. You are in direct violation of Penal Code 115, Section 9. You now have 5 seconds to comply. 1. I am now authorized to use physical force.
Somebody want to call a goddamn paramedic?
This is some graphic shit, man. Damn. What shit, man. That was so violent. So graphic and insane. There was nothing left of that guy. Yeah, I could really understand that was like... Oh, but yeah, the movie, I think this is one of the things that made this movie great. Extreme violence, it was well done. The scene where Alex Murphy is getting shot, fatally shot before I turn him into a Robocop. But that scene when he's get killed, by Red, freaking Red.
Problem.
Cops don't like me, so I don't like throwing a little bit of my foot in your ass.
Those were some graphic shit to see when I was that young.
Dick, I'm very disappointed.
Willow? You might wonder why this movie's on the list. Well, it's still one of my favorite fantasy movies I've ever seen. Back when I saw it, I was also like in the age of 8, 9 years old, and I didn't know what to expect. But once you see the Lucasfilm logo, and you know it's from the same studios that brought you Star Wars and Indiana Jones,
your journey has just begun.
Willow. Heroes come in all sizes. The next great adventure. Willow.
nothing much could go wrong at that time then. Although the movie is cute and a great example of fantasy lore, it's also quite mysterious and scary at times. Mostly because of all the strange creatures in it, like sprites, witches and trolls.
Are you scared, Dada?
No.
Even with fairies in the woods, they'll put you to sleep for 100 years?
Doesn't bother me.
Bronies? Dragons? Trolls? Trolls that'll skin you alive and take your face off?
Rannon? You know I hate trolls.
Oh no, man, not trolls. They can be ugly, man. They can be ugly.
Safe! Look at these people. This place is cursed, Peck. It's falling apart. Open your eyes. And trolls.
I hate trolls.
So the film was already building me up to the moment the trolls would come to the scene. We're gonna have a look.
Willow, use the wand on that troll.
Well, that wasn't scary as I remembered. They more look like people in a monkey suit with a crazy mask. They're just some weird zombie apes. But yeah, that shit that happened afterwards, that's pretty gross. The Exorcist movie never really attracted me. But everyone kept talking about it. They said things like, don't watch it alone, you're gonna see some scary shit. So after a while I thought, you know what, yeah, challenge accepted. Like, I was over 18 and I was home alone, sitting in the attic at night in the dark and starting the movie. That was not a good idea. This movie scared me on several levels. At that time I didn't know if some parts of the movie could be true. Could people be possessed? So that was disturbing enough on its own. But I also got really uncomfortable by something else. Let's have a look. Did you see that? There it is. When I first saw the movie, it was so subtle. I was really wondering, did I see anything? I got really uncomfortable. Only the next morning, in broad daylight, I dared to look back to see if that face was in there somewhere. I think the face itself is funny, but when you're not expecting it, and you're not sure if you saw it, yeah, that's pretty scary. What did you think? Did any of these scenes traumatize you too? Or do you have different childhood movie scars? Please let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching. In the scene mortal. What